Okay. We are now in chapter 14 of Shabbat, Halacha Bet. There are a couple of Mishnah Bet. There are a couple of Mishnayot that speak about the same topic, which now becomes nowadays it's a very serious issue, and that is the use of medicine on Shabbat. If we start from the way people look at the Halacha today, the general understanding is that unless ordered by a doctor and you have a medicine that you're not allowed not to take, meaning that you must take on Shabbat, one does not take medicine on Shabbat, like Tylenol or anything that you take over the counter or vitamins. A lot of observant people avoid taking them on Shabbat. What is the reason for that? That is also something that became for the observant like a maxim, like everybody knows that. Shhikat samemanim. This is because of grinding ingredients. Because people in the past used to grind their own medicine to make to mix and create their own medicine. Therefore, you cannot do it today. Now, you today will bring the argument to say that nobody makes his own medicine today. Even pharmacists, in many cases, they just add water to the. I mean, they have to know, of course, they have to be professional and learn to make sure that they don't make any mistakes. But they're not the one who create the combination. This is done in a lab, factory, right? Now, counter argument from some people is that sometimes you have a pill crusher, or people break it in half. It's not the same. When the rabbi spoke about shehikat samemanim is the preparation and mixture and all that. So we have to go back to the Mishnah. And anyway, we're starting from the Mishnah, but I just wanted to posit that as an introduction. The other interesting thing is that we'll see later that this term of shohek samemanim, of grinding ingredients, does not appear in the Mishnah and does not appear even in the Gemara when it discusses the Mishnayot. It appears somewhere else. And in addition, when the Gemara speaks about situations of grinding food the way you grind, the same way that you grind medicine. Where would they do that? They would do it in a pestle, with a pestle and a mortar. So the Gemara says, "En shohakin pilpelin." It used to grind peppers to make crushed pepper. You don't do it in the pestle and the mortar, but you could do it in a bowl with the handle of the knife. Why wouldn't you say there, Gezerah Shema Ishhak? If you do it here, you'll end up, and it's even more common, right? What is more common? Grinding ingredients for medicine or grinding peppers to use as a spice? Peppers. Still, the Gemara says it's okay to do it with the back of the knife. So, the question is really whether originally there was the reason for the prohibition was the fear of grinding ingredients, or maybe there was something else. So that the Mishnah says the following: "En osin hilmi b'Shabbat, aval oseu et mei hamelach vetovel bahen pito venoten letoch hatavshil." So the Mishnah says you cannot prepare a solution of salt water, which is the majority salt and a little water. And they would use that in order to pickle vegetables, to preserve them for a longer period. But you could do a small quantity of that solution and dip your vegetables in it. Amar Rabbi Yosei, v'alohu hilmi ben merubeh uven mu'at. Rabbi Yosei disagrees. He says if there is a problem of preparing this kind of saltwater solution, what does it matter if it's a little or if it's a lot? Remember that we spoke about the possibility that the early rabbis, when they established the laws of what is forbidden on Shabbat, they focused more on commercial activities. So that would be the answer to Rabbi Yosei. There is a difference between small quantity and a large quantity. If you do a large quantity, you are now pickling vegetables for long, which people used to do, and still in some societies today, people still do it because there's no refrigeration, and the best way to preserve your fruits and vegetables is to make them into pickles or jams, and then you have them for a much longer period. But if you do just a little quantity for the meal, it's not a problem. However, Rabbi Yosef himself says that in order to do that solution, noten shemen batehila letoch hamayim or letoch hamelach. You have to start with oil and then add water and salt because it doesn't mix that well. Fine. The commentators struggled with this Mishnah. Why? Because of the order they're looking for the logical order in the way the laws are presented. What was the previous one, if you recall? It was about hunting and wounding animals. So what is the connection between this and making salt water? And the next halacha would be about drinking all kind of medical solutions. So some of the commentators, Rambam among them, is like, let's I'll read to you from Tosfot Yom Tov, that there is, the Tosfot Yom Tov says there are two arguments why this would be forbidden when we speak about memela, and we'll get later on to medicine. One opinion is it has to do with cooking. It's when you do it on Shabbat, you're making the food edible, right, or better, and that's like cooking. It's not cooking per se, but it's called mehzek vashel. It seems as if you're cooking, and the concept of mehzek vashel, of it looks like cooking, is not that other people who see you will think that you're cooking, but rather that the person who does that, let's say I'm doing that, right? I'm pickling vegetables on Shabbat. In my mind, it registers as some type of cooking, and then it might eventually lead me to cook on Shabbat. That's the.
But salt does cook food.
It doesn't. I mean, most of the things that you could eat with salt, you could eat without salt. It's not that.
But if you soak something in salt for a certain period of time, it cooks the food.
It doesn't cook. It changes its composition in a way.
That's what cooking is.
That's what the question is, right? But then the question is, the definition of cooking is the end goal of making something edible, or changing the composition, or using fire. So all these elements are there. So, but the rabbis call it mehzek vashel because it has similarities, and they were afraid that people, if they would start doing that, will end up cooking. But like I said, that explains the difference between the rabbis, the majority of the rabbis in the Mishnah, and Rabbi Yosef, because they say when does it look like cooking? When you do large quantities, and you say, okay, you're making part of the meal, or even for weeks and months. If you do it only for now, it's okay. But the Rambam, Moshe ben Maimon, said that the reason is some say that so Rashi says mishum me'abed ayrinan, is that the problem is me'abed, of processing like you process leather. Why do they say that? Because before that we spoke about hunting, and in the Mishnah where we have the list of all the works, they said you can't hunt. You're not allowed to hunt a deer, to slaughter, skin it, and process the leather, process the hide. How do you process the hide? With salt. You soak it in salt and then you scrub it. So that the preparation of vegetable is like that. That's a very it's a questionable argument to say that processing vegetables with salt would be like processing leather with salt. It's a completely different issue. Over there, it's a chemical process that you wash away and it just softens the leather. Here, it's something that you eventually are going to consume together. Not only that, the problem is that in the next chapter, we go into the halachot of nuts, which nuts you're allowed to tie on Shabbat, and which you're not allowed to tie on Shabbat. And that is completely out of the order of the list in chapter 7 that lists all the 39 melachot. Anyway, so those are the possibilities of explaining that. It seems, if we go the pshat of the Mishnah, and the theory that I presented before, that the list came later. First they had the Mishnah with all the laws just gathered together, and then someone added, Rabbi Nasi added the list that organizes all the melachot from 1 to 39. That would explain all that, because there's no, not necessarily a logical order in the Mishnah, but rather they just compile, in some places there's an inner logic, but mostly they compile the halachot that they have. And maybe it has to do really with the preparation of food because they spoke about hunting. So not about processing the leather, but preparing food. However, after this Mishnah Bet, they go into this, into the laws of eating foods that could be for medicine and could be just for regular consumption. And maybe it flows from the question of making a salt solution because even today people use it to gargle, to overcome infection. So the Mishnah says this: "En ochlin ezovion b'Shabbat, lefi she'eno ma'achal beri'im." You cannot eat a type of hyssop. Ezov is one of the family of oregano, and it's like a moss. It grows on the rocks, and it would be good for digestion problems, to kill worms.
Is it za'atar?
It's like za'atar. It's from the same family. Aval ochelu et yu'ayzer v'shoteh abu v'u'ay. You can eat a plant called yu'ayzer that it's probably rosemary that people used to eat regularly, and drink the water of a tree called abu v'u'ay. And those are things that people would drink on a regular basis. So even though they have medicinal qualities, it's okay to use them on Shabbat. But if there's something that is only used for medicine, you cannot use it on Shabbat. So like this idea of the za'atar, I know that I one time had a problem, suffered from stomachache. My wife's grandmother, who was born in Marrakesh, and she had the traditional some traditional medicine. She boiled cumin in water. Cumin in water, and made me drink it. It was horrible, but it cured it. So that is the kind of idea of ma'achal. Or same thing with I think there are other herbs that you could boil, like cilantro and this. And when you drink the water, that's not something that you would use on a regular basis. Even though we like cumin and cilantro and all this in the food, but not when as a drink. But it works. So the Mishnah says that you don't do on Shabbat. You don't eat it because it doesn't. It looks as if you're taking care of the sick. So they say you could drink all kind of drinks, all kind of food, except for those specific. They say water from a certain spring that was known as a laxative. So it says don't do it because people do it only for medicine. But if you are thirsty and that's the only water available, you could drink it. If one has toothache, he cannot gargle vinegar. This people used to do. But he could eat vegetables dipped in vinegar without concern. And if it makes him feel better, it's okay. So you could do it by the way, indirectly. And if one feels like the muscles around the hips, he cannot massage the place with wine and vinegar, which people used to do.
Why directly vinegar?
So the good question. I'll talk about it. But he could use oil, but only simple oil, not rose oil. But it's very expensive. So only. No, because the rose oil was very expensive, so you would only use it for medicine. You wouldn't.
Only vinegar.
Oh, vinegar. They said no because it was only for medicine. I'll tell you about this. Yain v'chometz. My grandfather, alav shalom, used to suffer from asthma. And his doctor would take care of him, but also a moher in Yerushalayim, the moher who did the brit milah for my children, Yuda Mutzafi, zichrono livracha, he passed away this year. He used to come once in a while and give him a massage with olive oil and alcohol, like arak. And the doctor said that this helped him more than all the traditional medicine that they had. So those were valid techniques, but the Mishnah says don't use this expensive oil. But Rabbi Shimon Omer, Kol Yisrael b'nei melachim hem. So On Shabbat, we feel like we are like princes, we are like royalty, we're allowed to use it, but the halacha is not like him. So now, what Semi asked before is a good question. It seems that it's not about how you prepare the medicine. There's nothing intrinsically forbidden with preparing the medicine, but more is the question of how it looks. So if you do it directly, it looks as now you're taking care of the sick, and if you do it indirectly, it doesn't seem that way. And that is probably because one of the highly regarded professions in the past, as it is today also, is a doctor. The doctor takes care of the sick and he heals them. So if you allow administering medicine on Shabbat regularly, the fear was that eventually doctors or healers will work as usual on Shabbat. So the rabbi has tried to limit that. Now, and we'll see later on in halakha, it's a very fine line. How do you know that it is necessary, it is not necessary? Does someone have to scream of pain for you to tell, it's about time that we do something? And besides that, the real serious question is how do we assess the changes in medicine from antiquity till today? Back then, when you look at those things, there were certain like home medicine, folk medicine that people use at home, and you went to the doctor or you called the doctor for serious things, and in most cases, when it was a life-threatening situation, there wasn't much that the doctors could do. Doctors were good in putting bones back together sometimes, and curing certain types of digestion problem and fever, but there were other things that they couldn't fight. So, but today, on the other hand, everybody has at home a whole pharmacy. So before you go to the doctor, you have your own pharmacy, the over-the-counter, and then you have facilities where people are treated regularly, hospitals, nursing homes, etc. Well, how do you deal with all these questions of medicine? So I think that in terms of just a general rule, we have to have in mind that there's nothing in the Torah that would oppose taking care of someone who's sick on Shabbat. Meaning one does not have to get to a situation where it's a life-threatening situation. But the more we know today about preventive medicine, and we know how, I think that is something that maybe they were not aware back in the day, that sometimes even a little wound or cut where it is left untreated could develop into something really dangerous. Even a fever sometimes it could be a sign of something which is much more dangerous than just a regular fever. It could be meningitis, it could be other things. So that one should not hesitate to take care of any medical needs on Shabbat. But B'ezrat Hashem, we'll go to more because there's a lot written around it already in the ancient texts, in the Talmud Bavli, Talmud Yerushalmi, that shows how complicated the sugya is. And B'ezrat Hashem will continue to more. Baruch Adonai, Le'olam, Amen, Ve'amen.